situation that we're all finding ourselves in, there is no time like the present to talk about the topic of cash flow. And cash flow simply is the money that comes in and the money that goes out of your household. Given where we all might be on an individual basis, and I know I'm feeling your pain, we're all struggling with what's happening to our businesses, our income, our families, our lifestyles. It's quite gut-wrenching, and I think I've just got to stop watching the news every night. But I've said this before, I do struggle with sharing all of these things, but I truly believe that there is no time like the present, and there is no time like now to share these pearls of wisdom with you that you can implement and think about and digest. And when we come out the other end, make sure that you change your life once and for all, and make sure that we're never in a vulnerable position, no matter what the world throws at us. So with that said, cash flow simply talks about, as I said, the ins and outs of the money that comes into your household. I talk about 4 key factors with cash flow. First, we need to understand cash flow and what it truly means. And I'm going to share that with you today in this video. Then I'm going to move on to knowing your own cash flow, to then mastering your cash flow, and then finally reviewing it. So it's a 4-step process. It's a process of understanding what cash flow actually means, and I'm going to share the little secrets with you that make the difference to people that actually understand it, to those who just go on merrily in life and do the same thing and expect a different result. And then coming back to your own personal cash flow and unveiling, knowing what is actually happening with yours, and then mastering it. What are the strategies that we can implement to master this process? And then obviously we need to review it on a 6-monthly, annually, or as things change basis. So with that said, let's talk about understanding cash flow. Now, this was not taught to me at home. I didn't come from a family that actually understood money or cash flow. I learnt it through my profession and from my other half, Terry. So what is actually cash flow? Cash flow is simply what comes in and what comes out. And here's the most important factor I want to share with you. It's not actually what you make in terms of whether you're in business or working. It's actually what you keep and then what you do with that money that counts. Would you believe that people who are in excess on $300,000 a year on wages are actually no better off than those who are blue-collar workers at a stretch, maybe earning $110,000 annually in income? And you might be looking at me going, how is that remotely possible, Trace? Well, I'm here to tell you it is. And I work with these clients and have worked with these clients for the last 30 years. It's not what you make, it's what you keep and then what you do with that money. So I'm going to share 3 scenarios with you. I'm going to share the poor, the middle class, and the wealthy. What do they do with their money? What does it generally look like? And I've created concepts called money pits and money trees to try and explain what this means. Poor people generally live hand to mouth, yeah? So whatever they earn goes straight out into living expenses, and there's never anything left. There are no cash reserves. So in situations like this, they are the most vulnerable. And in situations like this, it is the most gut-wrenching position to be in. The middle class, what they do is when they earn their income, it first goes to lifestyle expenses, so living expenses, and then what they have left over, they put into what they think are assets, but are actually money pits. So I call them toys, such as cars, jet skis, caravans. Even your home is not an asset per se in terms of the fact that it doesn't put money back in your pocket. But in later videos, I'm going to share with you how your home can actually be leveraged to create wealth. So it has a different benefit at a different stage. But right now, when we're talking about cash flow, does your home put money back in your pocket? No, of course not. It takes money out of your pocket. The car repayments takes money out of your pocket. To hold the caravan and the jet ski and all the lifestyle toys take money out of your pocket. It's a drain on cash flow. It doesn't actually bring money back into the system. Therefore, it is a money pit. It's a nice to have, but not necessarily. What do the rich do that's different? Here's the difference. And it's called pay yourself first. So when income comes into their little kitty, what do they do first? They don't pay the bills first. The first amount of money goes into their money trees. What are their money trees? We're going to talk about this, but their money trees are assets that put money back into their pocket. They are like shares, they're like managed funds, they're like properties, they're like long-term bonds and so on. So these people are taking their income and putting it into money trees and investing it into assets that will one day, or right now, put money back into their pockets. It's not a drainer of cash flow. Then they will pay for their living expenses. And then if there's a little bit left over and those money trees that they invested in puts money back into their pocket, so now they don't just have their income from their working or their business, they also have the investments feeding into that as well. And with that extra income that the investments give them, they go and buy the little toys. How grand is that? How easy is that to do? It's that simplicity in the formula. It's a mind shift, yeah? And the mind shift is this: pay yourself first, even if you have to put an invoice in for yourself. And I know it kind of goes against the grain of how we were all raised. Make sure you pay your bills. We don't want people coming and knocking on the door and, repossessing things. Totally understand. But how do you know how much to pay yourself first? And how do you know how to structure all of this? These are in my next lot of videos that I'm going to share with you over the next 2 days. And that is understanding your own cash flow so we know how much to pay ourselves first, and then mastering your cash flow so we make sure that that system happens without thinking, because we've got to take the onus out of our own hands. If we leave it to ourselves to do on a daily basis, probably not going to do it, because there's always something that comes up, isn't there? Oh, I'll do it after I pay for this, or I do that, or I do that. And that I'll do it after this episode and that episode will go on for months and years. And if you're waiting for your turn, you'll be waiting a long time. There is no time like the present. You must implement these things as soon as practical. You must look at these things at least right now to know what you can do once we get past this dilemma that we all happen to be in, and this extreme amount of circumstances. But I want you to start thinking about it. I want you to start getting your head around it. I want you to go back and think about how you have been managing your cash flow, and have you been putting money into money pits, and are those money pits putting money back in your pocket now? And given, you might say, Trace, those investments that those wealthy people have made are now, how good are they to them now? This is momentary. I promise you. In history and in life, we are always going to have stumbling blocks. We are always going to have brick walls. We are always going to have these episodes. That doesn't mean we fall over and die and change everything. We must proceed as usual. We must get past this as usual. It will be business as usual once we get past all of this, and we will get past all of this, and we will reflect back and talk about it. So, with that said, make sure that you are understanding that pay yourself principle is the most important component of creating wealth for yourself. Because if you don't take your turn, no one will give it to you. There will always be something more important to pay for or do before you set yourself up for your future. Making sure that we are sacrificing small things today to build for our future.